this is going to be a comparison of the PlayStation 4 video game console and the Xbox 360 Slim video game console. So big question is, why would you compare these two? Well, the first one is, why not? And the other reason is, I think in the respective generation, they were both the same sort of system. And what I mean by that is, so last generation, 7th generation, and this generation, you have the three main systems. And one of them was a gimmick console, had a gimmick behind it. The other one was multimedia. And the last one was really just a core, all about the game system. Both of these systems, I think, in their generation are that. They're the core game system. Alright, like with, both the Wii consoles have that gimmick behind them, and the Xbox One is about multimedia, and so was the PS3. That was something they were really going hard on, and actually kind of why they're both, in each generation, the two most expensive. Whereas these are both the second most expensive consoles when they first launched. Again, this is the Slim model. It took out a lot of the things that was making the 360 expensive, added a couple things to make it a little better. So I think this is the one you really want to compare to the newly launched PlayStation 4. This is a launch day console. By the way, I picked it up at launch. So let's compare the two. So when we look at the front of each console, they're both pretty plain. All right, I think I have to get the edge. I like the 360s a little more because it looks a little more console-y, if you understand that. Like, I don't know many other pieces of hardware that have this, just completely molded in, CD tray, or, this big round button and stuff like that. That looks kind of like, something you'd see on a game console, whereas this looks like any piece of hardware, really. Just a few USB ports, power button, slot to put in the CDs. This uses Blu-ray. This as its primary media. This uses HD DVD. And also, the power button is very big and it's really easy to see. Same with the eject button. The power and eject buttons are very small on this. I think they want you to do it on the controller and in the system. This has also two USB ports on the front of the console, whereas with the PS4 it has two, but those are the only two USB ports on the entire console, not just on the front. This has even more on the back. It also has a sync button, where this does not have it, or at least I can't see it. Maybe it's like these, where they're tiny, Also, looking at it, this specific model is almost completely textured, except these two little glossy rings. This is almost always as well completely textured, where it has this little glossy bar right here. When we look at the tops, they are both, again, you have the glossy bar, big textured area, and the PlayStation logo, which I actually just realized right now is engraved. I thought it was just printed on. It's actually engraved into the system. Very nice. You have Xbox 360, kind of hard to see, engraved into the side, and a very large vent. On the original 360, heat was a huge problem. You actually had stuff, I think the adhesive was actually coming apart. I could be wrong, but it was something really bad like that, so that's why it red ringed, because the system was actually falling apart due to heat. So they made it very clear. The system can get a little hot, but I've never had stuff falling apart inside of it. They're both very quiet consoles when you first turn them on. When you put in the CD or whatever, it gets a little loud, but really not too loud compared to the original 360 and PS3. On the sides, you just have a little bar like you do here, this little slot. On the 360, you have this big vent. And on this side, the bottom of the console, you have this magical little compartment here. Has a little secret compartment, which I think is really neat, where you put in the hard drives. It uses a custom-fitted SATA. This uses any standard, mini-sized hard drive, like SSD. A lot of people put SSDs in this. All you do is take this off, unscrew, screw, and you're good to go. It doesn't void any warranties or anything like that. So, when we look at the back of the consoles, one thing you'll notice about shape and size, actually, before I go on, is this is shaped like an eraser. This is just sort of like a scrunched-in box that's a little rounded. And the 360 is about, I wouldn't say an inch taller, but you can definitely notice that it is taller. Um, and this is completely internal power supply. This is an external power supply, so I think that's a little interesting. They're both about the same weight, but like I said, this is all this weight excluding a power supply. This has the power supply in it, so this is definitely, I think, is the lighter console. And honestly, probably the smaller console as well, because you don't have that big power brick. So looking at the back, we have the power. This is a completely standard power cable. It's what the PS2 and PS1 used, actually. You have this little thing, that talks about, it's really hard to see, but it talks about PS4, HDMI port, the LAN port, and the AEX port, and then some vents on the back. This is the main vent, so always keep this clear. We have the spot to put in the power brick, some just random stuff on the back, another magical little thing, the AV port, HDMI, LAN, AUX, and 3 USB ports. So this thing has a total of 5. This only has 2. Nice thing is, like, if you're not like me and you're not doing a whole lot of digital stuff on 360, for digital stuff I have Steam. So I just have this for things like GTA 5, which is actually the main reason why I got this, where you need an extra 8 gig download. You may want to get something like this, a little thumb drive. This is 16 gigabyte. So overall, just taking a look at the systems, you know, they're about the same size and height and weight and everything. They're both really nice looking systems. They're pretty sleek and stylish and quiet. One thing I have heard is this thing can jet engine, depending on, I think, the manufacturer of the drive. I think I got a quiet drive, so I was lucky. But I think this, you know, it's going to sound the same. So overall comparable, again, hardware inside, I mean, this has an 8-core AMD Jaguar CPU. This is a tri-core IBM PowerPC. I think, I'm not completely sure about other stuff. I know graphics, this inside of this thing is somewhere around like an NVIDIA 7060, like 760. Sorry, I was thinking kind of more like AMD. Has like something around the power of an NVIDIA 760, which you don't know about that, just look it up. It's actually a pretty powerful card. I don't know about this. Graphically, again, it can run most games, but at a pretty bad frame rate. You know, the games that ran poor on this are going to run great on this, if they ever, you know, port them onto this. So, last look here, now that we've looked at the consoles and compared the two, how about these controllers? These controllers are both incredibly comfortable, probably the two most comfortable controllers I've ever used. The thumbsticks on this are smaller, and the D-pad on this is terrible. The D-pad on this is fantastic. The triggers on this are like little gun triggers. You know, they're these little slit triggers that work really well. The triggers on these I like a little better. They're more mushy, which usually isn't a good thing, but with triggers I think works. They're not springy, or like super springy like these. They have almost no resistance, and they're very, very comfortable. Same with the bumpers. Bumpers I feel the same way, but the bumpers on these are very, very clicky. Placement's fantastic, and it's very comfortable. This one's heavier, but I like weight, so that's really not bad. This uses batteries. This charges through the console. They both have rumble. This one has a touchpad and a share button, which this does not, and a random little LED light, which serves absolutely no purpose, as well as a speaker, which also serves almost no purpose. They both have home buttons, slots to put in headsets and stuff like that. So overall, these are two amazing controllers, and if you're a controller guy, these two you may want to get. This one you can use. Microsoft actually has official drivers for Windows. So if you're a big PC gamer, you may want to look into one of these. But just one last look at the consoles. They're both really great consoles. 360 has a really fantastic game library. The PS Store, I think, has a lot in store. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of really amazing games in the future for it. And that's the comparison. Thanks for watching.